Hello, my name is Tina Davenport. In this video, we will discuss the general life cycle of clinical research studies. By the end of this video, you will learn the important characteristics that every research study should have and what pitfalls may occur when the studies are lacking these features. Below is a common headline you might see reporting on the results of a medical research study. The New York Times reports, "Premature birth raises risk of kidney disease. People born prematurely should be especially vigilant about the onset of kidney disease decades later." How do we get to a headline like this? Many clinical research studies that eventually lead to a headline like this follow a very similar life cycle. This cycle can be pretty complex, but the basics are given here. First, research starts with an idea, observation, or a question. In the above example, researchers know that most of the development of the kidneys occurred during the third trimester of pregnancy, but not much is known about how the interruption of this development due to preterm birth affects the risk of kidney disease later in life. A question could be posed: is preterm birth associated with CKD later on in life? Second, this idea, observation, or question then leads to a hypothesis. A hypothesis, in its simplest form, is a statement about what you think the results will be. Because development of the kidneys get interrupted by preterm birth, we believe that preterm birth is associated with CKD later in life. Third, in order to answer the question, or more formally, test the hypothesis, a research study is then designed. Great care must be taken in the planning of this study. Fourth, once the study is designed, relevant data are collected and analyzed using appropriate statistical methods, and these methods depend on the research question and the hypothesis, the design of the research study, and the methods used to collect the data. The final phase of the life cycle is to draw conclusions from the analysis and report the findings. Every phase described, particularly 3 to 5, must have 3 important characteristics: integrity, transparency, and reproducibility. The National Institute of Health defined research integrity as the use of honest, verifiable methods in proposing, performing, and evaluating research, reporting research results with particular attention to adherence to the rules, regulations, guidelines, and following commonly accepted professional codes or norms. It is vitally important that research is performed honestly, great care is taken to avoid errors, and that the results of the research speak for themselves. Open and free access to the data, methods, and coding scripts used to conduct the research is another assurance that the quality of the study is sound. Understandably, it may not be feasible to have completely open access to some files, for example, sensitive patient data, but sharing de-identified data, analysis plans, protocols, resulting reports, and coding scripts as a supplement to the published results is a key aspect of research transparency. Transparency goes hand in hand with reproducibility. Others should be able to independently replicate your research findings. A big part of reproducibility is transparency just discussed, in that allowing others to access your data and your scripts in order to duplicate your results is what makes your research reproducible. This is also a benefit to you as the researcher. Having someone independently analyze your data can help identify inadvertent errors, and if your results are confirmed, then this will strengthen your findings. Another part of reproducibility is documentation and version control. Steps used to create an analysis dataset from raw data, changes to the analysis plan, changes in coding, scripts, and results, and different versions of the analysis report are all clearly outlined. An outsider can easily follow the project process from start to finish. The Office of Research Integrity defines research misconduct as fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism in proposing, performing, or reviewing research, or in reporting research results. Whether intentional or unintentional, research misconduct can occur when a research study lacks even one of these components, and any findings from the study are suspect and cannot be trusted. This could result in misconduct investigations, employment termination, penalty or settlement payments, and even jail time. And unfortunately, Research studies that lack integrity, transparency, and reproducibility occur too often. Let's look at an example of a study that lacks one or more of these components. The PACE trial was a randomized controlled trial that studied the comparative effectiveness of 4 interventions on improvement in self-reported fatigue and physical function among patients with chronic fatigue syndrome. It was a highly publicized study that showed that 2 of the interventions significantly improved the outcomes, and the clinical improvements were quite high. Shortly following, the trial became heavily criticized for protocol deviation during the study, post hoc changes to outcome-related definitions and effectiveness, and inappropriate primary analysis methods. This study is interesting because there is no clear deliberate misconduct like falsifying data, but muddy and gray areas that hint at misconduct. Let's see how the lack of the 3 components of good research could lead to accusations of misconduct. First, remember that integrity involves the use of honest and verifiable methods in performing the research. The study was criticized for releasing newsletters to participants while they were active in the trial, reporting positive testimonials of participants in the trial, and that new government guidelines recommended 2 of the therapies under study. Critics believe this may have biased participants in reporting their subjective study outcomes more favorably, especially since the study was unblinded and participants knew if they were receiving the study treatments. This newsletter did not follow commonly accepted professional norms, as the NIH suggests. In addition, the primary investigators, or PIs, were criticized for not allowing the research results to speak for themselves. Rather than following the protocol-specified definitions and cutoffs for the outcomes, the researchers changed the definitions during the study. They defended this action since it was done before data were analyzed. However, critics believe that because the study was unblinded and outcomes subjective, outcome trends became apparent long before the data were analyzed. Thus, reporting of the results did not adhere to the rules specified in the protocol. Second, though the PIs of the study disclosed financial conflicts of interest in the published manuscripts, they did not disclose to potential participants, calling into question participants' ability to fully provide informed consent. When questions arose about the validity of the trial, the study team refused to release anonymized trial data so that others could replicate the findings. This lack of transparency raised red flags to many critics about the ethics of the trial. Third, when some of the data were released by court order, the findings were not reproducible when the data were reanalyzed according to the protocol specifications. Had the researchers not changed definitions of the outcomes, they would have found no increased benefit of any of the therapies under study. The above is an example of when lacking integrity, transparency, and reproducibility can render a study potentially invalid. Currently, the results of the PACE trial remain unretracted, but continual calls to review and reanalyze the data are ongoing. Many of these requests can be found on the blog retractionwatch.com. The purpose of this blog is to report on retracted research articles, since retractions are generally not well publicized. How can controversy in a study be avoided? Having a team of people with varying expertise is vital to any research study. Although simply having this team in place doesn't ensure the study will have integrity, transparency, and reproducibility, but having the right group of people on your team can minimize unintentional actions that result in misconduct. In addition to the PIs who have the clinical expertise and coordinators to help run the study, a strong research team should include someone trained and experienced in data analyses and statistics, such as a data scientist, methodologist, or statistician. Ideally, this person should be involved at the very beginning of the research life cycle, when the scientific question is being formulated. Having a methodologist or statistician on the team can ensure that the study is designed correctly and the data are being collected appropriately. Someone trained in statistics should do all the analyses because of the expertise and knowledge to know which methods are appropriate for the design and data. This person can ensure that the analyses are done accurately, that the results have integrity, and are reproducible. Hopefully in this video, you have a sense of the clinical research process and that every study must have integrity, transparency, and reproducibility. In the following videos, we will go into detail into each point of the life cycle of a research study mentioned in this video.